Oh, come on! No! No! Fuck! God damn it, man. Gotta get back on the grind. What is it about the 2-1 string? So when you have a high mid string, right? When you should watch that JDCR video on the power of the jab, right? But obviously, since it's a high attack, if a player ducks it, you know, they can whip punish you, right? But when you do 2-1 like this, you have a mid to back you up, so it limits their while standing attack ability. They have to have a quick while standing attack, and they have to have a read on it. Because that one is your insurance. So against characters that have really, really cheap, fast while standing attacks that are quick. So you want to think characters like Leo, characters like Xiaoyu, characters with really good like while standing 4s or while standing 4 follow-ups, etc. Those characters, like, they can still hurt you, but they probably won't. They have to really have a read on your desire to do pressure that way. So what the 2-1, if your character has a safe 2-1 string like this, right? So that's -3 on block. And specifically, if you have a 2-1 high mid string. So, and again, remember, since it starts from a 2, this is one of your faster buttons. Obviously with Jack, he's an exception. But like the case of Oz's Center, right? It's like basically the same. You know, it's a fast attack starter with a mid to keep it safe. And the thing is, if you're one of the characters with follow-ups like that, if your character has follow-ups from it, your opponent has to respect that on some level. You can almost create like Rekkas out of it. But if the second hit is mid and safe, like this, right? And depending on the frame data and your character and how good their sidestep is. So in the case of Jack, his step is not that good, right? But his backdash is really good. So if you want to keep things 2D, you can do that with him. So 2-1, backdash, see what they do. And you can see what they do. So for him, he backed away. So maybe next time I can dash in, or I'll back with dash as well and look for the back 3+4. See? And he does something. You can kind of create situations where it gives you the ability to just kind of like check your opponent, see what they're thinking about doing under stress or under pressure, you know? So with this guy, he tends to backdash after and wait. So maybe it's better for me to just let the string rip. 2-1-2, do the mid, or 2-1 high in Jack's case, right? He has options after he can do. He can do that, or he can do this. Oh, sorry. This, right? But that's a high. So there's high mid mix, right? So it's about seeing how your opponent reacts to that, and then from this little Tekken, you can set up big Tekken plays. So what if my opponent just starts to respect the mid option after? As he is down, right? Oh shit, good step. Now that, okay, that's layer 2. He's stepping it now, right? So now you have to explore your character's options for buttons that have passive homing to one side or another. If he's gonna step to the right like that, I'm gonna have to use a button that tracks that side. But maybe my homing attacks are too slow. So now I know, okay, well if he's gonna step to the left, I gotta use down 4-1 to catch him. But now what if he steps to the right? Down 4-1 won't track that way. But what attack do I have that will? Uppercut. He didn't step that time, but he just waited. But these are the kind of games you can play. You can transition from little Tekken into big Tekken plays. Or you can keep it little Tekken, a little bit of mid Tekken, where you know you're working your 2-1 and it forces you. The reason why this string is good, these strings, and lots of characters have them, right? The reason why these strings are good is because they force you to have higher level Tekken thinking. All of a sudden, you're not thinking like, okay, I'm going to do this 2-1. I'm just going to stop at 2-1 this time. What if he gets hit? What am I guaranteed? You start to think on that level. It gets you to think about your character's entire kit around one move. And high-level Tekken players do that. When you get to the point where you're thinking about this one micro situation on hit, on block, what if they do this on block? What if I don't do this last hit? but then they do this? What if I do the last hit, but they do this? What if they don't do this, but what if I don't do the last hit, but they do this hit, this option? What do I have for everything? You start to be thinking about every micro interaction, like on a flowchart level. And that kind of thinking, especially with regards to the 3D element, once you start to get like sidesteps in the mix, the biggest, I think, most jarring moment for a Tekken player you can have in your like growth trajectory is the first time you play someone who sidesteps your shit consistently. Like, sidesteps jabs, you know? And this gets you to think about that kind of situation ahead of time. Which is why it's good in my opinion. Like, the first time I played Kagemaru, he was just like, I was like, I can't do anything. But it got to the point where I slowly kind of understood the game plan that develops from there. And eventually I got to the point where I beat him, you know? Or was playing like on even footing against him in tournament. But it's something like you can't have explained to you. You have to go through the process of thinking it out and feeling it out yourself, you know? Azucena was where I really started to develop this. So Azucena has it. You just bang on this shit all day. A quick, high mid jab string like this that has the threat of that high follow-up. Just the threat of this one high follow-up is going to naturally push players towards, okay, if I hold back, I'm not doing anything. But if I want to punish it, I gotta duck it. So against lower level players, you can get away with just like, fuck it, you know, just bully them with this. But the second they start ducking your shit, that's bad because, you know, like they punish you for the string, right? If your character has good sidestep, like Jax is only, I think, -3, right? But he has bad sidestep. Azucena has better than average sidestep. But you can kind of play to your character's strengths. So it's like, okay, if you do a -7 string like that, and the reason why players might be a little bit hesitant is because of the threat of the high follow-up, right? So you might get away with a few frames off or something like that. Especially if you train them on this or like to look for that threat. But because of even just a little bit of a slack that they give you, that's when the sidestep comes into play. If you want to retaliate with jab, natural reaction is the jab here, right? See? And just developing, you saw what happened, right? So if you 2-1 and then step to the left, holy shit. If your natural reaction, once I've been trained off of like, okay, they're not going to do the follow-up. They're just going to use 2-1 as the Rekka, stop there, and then try to make a play. And once they know that, they might start trying to jab check you, you know, to stop you from your pressure. But then that's when you can, you know, you leverage this. She has a decent sidestep, right? Look at how this micro situation plays out. Whip punish. And again, characters with quick, good return on fast, like jab strings, you know? And in the case of Azucena, what does she have? 1-1. 1-1 into stance pressure. That's big. If you can score a small, you can get away with like the little Tekken. The little Tekken can play out in big ways. If you just step a jab and you're able to punish that shit with 1-1, that's good. That's really good. She gets good value out of this. And there's lots of characters that do. Kazi, you know, like Mishima's with good 1-1-2s, that kind of thing. So it kind of recontextualizes like, man, you don't need to play a game completely centered around looking for big, you know, big Tekken is cool, don't get me wrong. But it's like, if your whole game plan is focused around finding the big whip punish in the down 4-2, that's just a piece of the puzzle. You can set up for those kinds of plays with little Tekken. 2-1, right? 2-1 and then analyzing the situation. I'm +3 if it on hit, right? If you're +3, start to play the numbers game. Well, shit, if I'm +3, that means I get a free swing with down 4-1 after. Because the fastest thing they can challenge with is like 10 frames, right? So shit. If you space this correctly, maybe their crouch jab even whiffs. You tag them with that shit. Now you just squeezed out like 40 damage off of, like for free, off of nothing, basically. Just like very polite pressure. But it can play out in big ways. Claudio. He has a 2-1. And again, you have the threat of a mid follow-up, right? It's unsafe, but it's a series you can kind of play around with. So because of the mid threat, people are going to be likely to stand block that, obviously. But that's when you can put the brakes on it stop at the 2-1, and then continue pressure. And then if they get to the point where they want to jab back to try to stop you from doing that, Claudio's sidestep maybe is good enough, but usually they're not going to be auto-pressing jab, you know, like, they have to give some respect to this follow-up. Especially since it's a heat engager as well. That creates a whole nother layer to the mind game there. If it gets to the point where Claudio has a lot of gray health built up, and you're like in the middle of the round, they know that you're going to want to be hitting that engager to go into heat and get the health back. So that creates a whole new mind game. So you could be like, well, I have all this gray health, but you probably know that I want to look for that. So fuck you. I'm going to just keep doing pressure, you know? You sneak in some lows, and then it creates another dynamic to that interaction like that, you know? But yeah, just explore the cast and take a look if your character has one and see what you can do with it. See how you can kind of explore that situation.